Our article is the relationship of riparian reserve zone width to bird density and diversity in southeastern British Columbia. It's by Trevor A. Kinley and Nancy J. Newhouse.
The premise of the research was to compare the effect riparian management zone size had on bird communities.
The research was located in the southeastern interior of BC, bordering the Kootenay National Forest in Montana. It is a dry, cool montane spruce zone, and forested areas are on historic floodplains and upland forests further upslope. Forest stands were 80 to 140 years old in this biogeoclimatic zone.
The objective was to compare widths of riparian management zones and upland forests and how they provide different environments. It discusses the importance of riparian areas and their effect on habitat diversity. Riparian areas are important in maintaining diverse, abundant bird communities. Their value cannot be generalized between regions and elevations.
Study sites were established adjacent to streams 500 meters apart. Only recently harvested areas are studied because of their wide riparian reserve area. Studies were divided into 12 bird survey grids and were visited 3 times between May and June. When visited, an observer stood in the middle of each site for 5 minutes, recording when birds were seen or heard, finding the species richness or the number of species, and bird density.
This regression equation calculates the reserve zone width versus the density of riparian-associated birds. It's used to compare the species diversity and species equitability.
Major findings of the project were that species diversity and equitability were higher in riparian areas. Riparian areas have a greater canopy cover, fewer trees, greater tall shrub cover, and more CWD than upland forests. 3 out of the 4 species observed were sensitive to the reserve zone width and were absent in zones less than 25 meters. In Vermont, 95% of species needed 175 meters of a width from streams. Urban streams in Florida have no difference. They can be anywhere between 20 meters to 60 meters or 75 meters to 150 meters from streams.
This table displays the average density of all bird species combined and of riparian-associated birds in 10 3-hectare sites that include riparian reserve zones in the montane spruce zone. These stats were taken in the Invermere Forest District in 1994. The densities increase as riparian zones grow larger, and bird populations did not compensate by packing into smaller forest areas, which occurs in some fragmented forests.
The article solidifies the fact that it is important to maintain riparian ecosystems and the landscape to ensure habitat variability. The guidelines intended to maintain riparian forests are justifiable from an avian perspective.
We hope you've enjoyed this presentation on the relationship of riparian reserve zone widths and bird density in southeastern BC. Thank you for listening.